conclusion, we can draw the reasonable conclusion that there is some source of magnetic energy at the Earth's center, some sort of a vortex, which is causing the sun and moon to spin around it in very intricate, and all the planets as well, in very intricate patterns. So the Earth's center at the North Pole is the center heart of the Earth, the Merkaba, if you will. And this is what all the symbolism is of the Merkaba everywhere. That's why in Tools videos, you've seen it earlier. It probably is what I just played before I'm talking now. So you can see the symbolism of the Merkaba everywhere, and how they're showing us over and over through every type of imagery that this is the reality that you live in. And so, more to that, we know now, you can see that living in the flat Earth, you are living in a gigantic zodiacal clock. And therefore, this makes numerology, astrology, tarot, and the zodiac signs real. And it makes their power real. And it makes their influence upon us real. And so what we see is that as the Earth, as the zodiacs spin around us on Earth, those spinning vortex frequencies that are somewhat pointed down at us are like invisible bands of radiating energy that pass through us in the form of the ether and affect us in different ways. They affect our moods, the weather, everything. Everything is connected to this. So that central Merkaba is at the North Pole. Its energy comes from deep within the Earth and without the Earth, from without the Earth, from outside of the firmament. I believe that it's one giant connected system. Okay, so being that we are zetetic scientists now, we don't jump to these conclusions without some sort of a reasonable reason, some sort of a reasonable explanation to believe those things. We want to see proof or see evidence that would lead us to believe such a thing. So we're talking about the Merkaba and the heart chakra of the Earth, and the energy focal point of the Earth being the North Pole, being that it is pumping out an invisible energy source up into a reflector of some sort, which is beaming that energy then in the form of visible light out to the inside of the dome. And that this motion is the perfect motion to describe the corkscrew motion, being that the reflector, the angle of incident and refraction on the reflector would only need to be modified by the slightest amount in order to account for the changes that we see between summer and winter in the sun's path. So the evidence, we're looking for any type of evidence about this. So we can go back to any religion, particularly any Eastern religion, in Tibet, the monks, in India, in any mystic Eastern religion. They're going to show you the flat Earth, the Merkaba, and I forget the name of them now, but they're the large pieces of artwork that the monks themselves make out of salts and different colored powders, and they recreate the entire universe there. And you guys have probably seen this stuff through Eric Dubé's one movie about ancient flat Earth beliefs. And so flat Earth has been the central belief of all cultures around the world. In fact, it is their central belief because it's the truth. So we're looking for evidence other than the mythical evidence, which is in the religious text. So what I have first thing that I've got now that I can show to you is in the Inventio Fortunata, the book that was about Gerard Mercator and about other polar adventures, or it was mentioned by Mercator in his letters, and it's about the polar adventures. So I'm just going to jump to the main point where I want to get into here. So I'm quoting from the Inventio Fortunata, from Strabo, Book 7, Chapter 3 and 1, Pliny's Natural History, Book 2, Chapter 75, and Book 4, Chapter 13, 30, and 36. Quote, Strabo says, "It is true that Pythias of Marseille affirms that the farthest country north of the British Isles is Thule, for which he says the summer tropic and the Arctic Circle is all one. But he records no other particulars concerning it, whether Thule is an island or whether it continues habitable up to the point where the summer tropic becomes one with the Arctic Circle. Strabo's editor says on this that the summer tropic being placed at 24 degrees from the equator by Strabo, and most probably by Pythias, the latitude of Thule or Iceland would be fixed at 66 degrees north, which corresponds with the north of Iceland, where the two tropics would join and become one. To the foregoing may be added another criticism on Strabo, which has an effect opposite to that intended as, and here we arrive at the Merkaba, which has an effect opposite to that intended as the, quote, marine sponge. Now they say it's nothing but soft ice which forms in the north, but it's described here by Pliny and Strabo as, where are we here? It is likewise he who describes Thule and other neighboring places where, according to him, neither earth, water, nor air exist separately, but a sort of concretion of all these resembling a marine sponge. Now, I don't know why they throw that in there, but let's just cut that out. So we'll start again. A place where, according to him, neither earth, water, nor air exist separately, but all together, as a sort of concretion of all these, in which the earth, the sea, and all things are suspended, thus forming, as it were, a link to unite the whole together. It can neither be traveled over nor sailed through. Book 2, Chapter 4, 1. So, there is our historical evidence, reported by actual explorers. Now, what you notice as you go through the Inventio, and this book was intentionally lost many times, and held back, and only shown to the enlightened. So, I'll address there again, the top of the Illuminati. Okay? That's the only people that would get to see this book and understand what that means, what it's really talking about there. And it's also spoken about in the other writings that Mercator did. And you can see how, as you go through the writings, first of all, this portion is stripped from all the other copies I've seen of the Inventio. And secondly, the other part about the magnetic Mount Meru is always stripped as well, if they can do that. So I've only seen a couple copies where it's got Mount Meru in the letters of Mercator to D, and likewise in the Inventio, this portion is often cut out. So there we have some historical significance and some historical reporting on the likelihood of there being a central Merkaba, a pole at the North Pole, allowing invisible energy up from the core of the Earth, which travels up as invisible light waves to some sort of a magnifying reflector or some sort of a converter up in the air, which then converts the invisible light into light rays and beams them out onto the wall, onto the dome wall, the inside of it. And so this is what Pink Floyd is talking about, the wall. And then on the cover of the one album, of course, they have the light beam going through and bending through a prism. A prismatic effect occurs and light is beamed out. So I think that that's what they're alluding to. I think that a long time ago, at the time of the dew line, we've got the dew line blocking off the North Pole. So a long time ago, they decided not to let people see this or know about it, and this is the control. This is a major portion of the control. For so many unbelievable and incredible reasons, they would hold this back. I think that they've been studying it. I think that when they talk about the box or control, or when they talk about anything, that what they're really, when they're talking about the power that they have, this is what they're referring to. And so, this thing relates to every possible pop culture reference you can come up with. So you'd have the beetles. Someone mentioned to me today that the beetles, the scarab, is the sun and the moon's path if you draw it out in the original form. Um, let's see what else. This goes into all kinds of things. Every song you've ever heard, break. Yeah, so another example that could be pointed out of what could be there, and what another pop culture reference that I think is fascinating that came up when I looked up the North Pole and stargates, or the North Pole and Merkaba, is the Stargate. This could be the Stargate. This could be the way out, as uh, the YouTuber Star Gods talks about that the dome is not the home. So, and he talks about that Yahweh is not the way out, things to this effect, that we're trapped here, that there's some sort of a larger game. I don't know that I would hold to that. I don't think that I would. I think that this is a beautiful creation, and I think that God built it for us as that. Now, to speculate any further about what God is or would be purely speculation. But back to the Stargate and the Merkaba and the North Pole, that's what this could be. In that, when it speaks about it in Pliny's Natural History, and it says that these, let's see here, neither earth nor water nor air exist separately, but a sort of concretion of all these, in which the earth, the sea, and all things were suspended, thus forming, as it were, a link to unite the whole together. But they were suspended. So is there some sort of a, I won't call it gravity, but an anti-downward force at that location? Something that lifts things up into the sky? So, a lot to think about, a lot to add to this. So, thanks for sticking through this documentary, guys. Ciao.
So I would hope that we can clearly see at this point that the North Pole is not the way that the mainstream model tells us, and that there's much more going on there. Thanks for watching, guys. Ciao.
Number 25, the Grand Duchy of West Arctica. In 2001, when Travis McHenry saw that there was an unclaimed chunk of Antarctic territory named Mary Bird Land, he seized the opportunity to become royalty. So far, though, all his country has managed to produce is a few stamps. Number 24, the Conch Republic. Founded to comically protest the U.S. checkpoint between the Florida Keys and the mainland,